Most of us think about HR as contracts, compliance, or conflict. Generally, that's when people call me. 80% of my clients come through, I've got an issue, Sal, help me out. Then about the other 20% comes through and says, I'm growing, I need something, we're too busy, I don't know what I need, but I know I need something more. And that's actually where we look at it a little bit more proactively. We actually look at your organizational structures, but also your delegation structures. We look at the systems that you're using, and that's not necessarily like your IT systems, although we can refer you out to those people, but it's like, do you have processes? How do you make decisions? Those sorts of things. And then your leadership. Your leadership has a 70% impact on your staff's engagement. And often our leaders, I will talk about that a bit later, but often our leaders are promoted because they're really awesome, but they're never given any leadership training. And HR can actually act as a guide and someone that they can bounce things off. So they're not alone and they are actually getting some leadership training and support. Strategic HR is actually what enables a business to grow smoothly. It's the difference between managing people and actually leading an organization. And that's the mindset shift between just managing all of those fires and leading and being more proactive. I've pulled this together, I guess, 3 main problems that I see for small and medium businesses. Decision bottlenecks is the problem number 1. And often you hear people say, everything comes to me, I'm doing everything, I'm overwhelmed, I'm swamped. Often it's because there's outdated position description or no position descriptions. The organization structure hasn't evolved. So, you know, the CEO now has everybody reporting to them and there's now 20 people reporting into them and there's no structure. I hear things like, we've gone with a flat structure, but that just means the CEO is making every decision from a $5 decision to a $500,000 decision. And there's no delegation thresholds or guidelines as to who can do what and what decisions can be made at what levels. That's where HR can actually help. We actually help you build out what the roles should be, where they've gone, where they're evolving to. Your delegations of authority, it's a fancy word for saying who can approve what, and defined accountability. So can you delegate some of those lower level decisions to your supervisors or your team? So as the business owner or the CEO, you're not stuck with everything. Problem number 2, inconsistent ways of working. Everybody does it differently. And I see this a lot. And again, it's generally small businesses growing into big businesses, because often we have those amazing people when we start out and they just do a bit of everything. And, you know, the admin person is the quasi manager, she's payroll, she's accounts, she's HR and doing all of these things, but there's no documented processes. Everybody's actually doing their best, which is really cool. And everybody's a bit flexible to do different types of things. But as the team grows without the documented processes, or if you've got policies and they just sit in the drawer, you're not actually evolving and everybody is still doing everything different. So you actually become very inconsistent and there's no standard. So if you're wanting to have, we have this standard for the business and this standard for our clients, that falls away the bigger you get. You also have this key person risk because you have knowledge sitting in people's heads, and that's not because they're trying to protect it or they're worried about it. It's just, it's not documented. That's the way it's always been done. And if somebody gets sick or goes away, then I see a lot in small businesses where the person's gone away for 2 weeks, but the business has called them 17 times in that 2 weeks and they haven't felt like they've had a break. I was working with a big business about recruitment, on a recruitment project within the business. They wanted to go internally to see if anyone wanted to step into a different department within the business. They didn't have an internal recruitment process. And it doesn't have to be a long process, but because they didn't have an internal process, we had an employee reaching out to the other manager to apply. The person's current manager wasn't aware of it. There was secret discussions being had, and the manager of the open role also didn't know what to do. He's like, do I tell that manager? Do I not tell that manager? What do we do? And it actually blew up into quite an argument between, would I say argument? there was a clash and there was conflict between the two managers because there was no process. And it took about 2 weeks to build up, and by the time I walked in the door, I took about 4 hours and resolved it, but it would have been saved if they just had a process. If you apply internally, let your manager know, let the other manager know, go through a process, and then if the person's successful, agree on a release period. It could have been like a 3-point internal recruitment process, and it would have saved them 2 weeks and many hours of stress, including the employee. So sometimes where you don't have policies, or if the policies sit in a drawer, you can actually save yourself time, stress, culture issues by just getting those simple things in place. The other thing that inconsistency drives, the other thing that happens when it's inconsistency is you find that there's not enough training. Often, again, we just figure things out as we go. So the other part to the practical policies and procedures is making sure that you've got the right training. The best person to do the training is the person doing the job. So get them to write the process. So you as the business owner or the CEO, you don't have to document all the processes yourself. Get your team to document them, or get the person that does the process to document, and then get them to train others. The best way for someone to learn something is to train others. So pass that training down the line and get them to train the next person if you've got bigger teams. Problem number 3 I see is leadership load. So again, I talked about in the beginning, is people are promoted without leadership training because they're amazing. Leadership is a skill. There's very few people that are just born leaders and intuitively know everything. Leadership, you need skills, you need tools, and then you need to practice your leadership skills. And I think that's one of the things, people just go, they're a good leader or a bad leader. Often people who are considered bad leaders just have never had any training. So the big things I see within that is obviously no training, constant context switching. So this is our multitasking. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing something else. People are all coming to me and I don't have structure to how I manage my time or my leadership tasks. Decision fatigue, too many low value decisions sitting with the leader, and no protected thinking time. So leaders often are just reacting. They don't actually have time to think about the next step for their team or think about what they're going to do for that client because they're in reactive mode. Decision fatigue, I use this model called two-door thinking, and I'm a visual person. So I look at that two-door as, you know, the kitchen doors that go in and out. That's two-door for me, and one is just a door that goes out. So if there's decisions that can be undone or that are low level or the risk is low or low cost, make that a two-door decision, which means delegate it to somebody in your team. And then if they make a mistake, you can reverse it, right? It's the two-door decision. You can always tweak it, pivot it, reverse it. Where it's high risk, worth high dollars, then that's a one-door decision. That might be something that you keep yourself as a leader, but try and delegate all those low-level two-door decisions, because you're actually going to build your team, your next level leaders and your teams on the floor. But you're also going to stop your leaders having that decision fatigue for the $5 widget that they don't need to make a big decision on. Context switching is a big one. I know we talk about it a lot, but really just time blocking and doing that. And I want to show you what that does to your brain. If I could have a volunteer, please, for this activity. Oh, Michelle, yes.
You're looking at me and
I'm just like, yeah, it's an easy activity, but I just want to give you a visual, because I'm visual. No, I would like you to come to front. Is anybody else visual? Are you visual learners? This will be good, yeah. Choose a colour. Okay. Now, yeah, you can draw there. Now, what I want you to do, there we go. Now, what I want you to do is write, wait till I give you all the instructions. How excited are you? I want you to write A to J across here.
A to J.
And 1 to 10 down here. And I want you to go A1, B, 2.
2.
Yeah. And
Wait, I'm going A to J, and
yeah,
then I'm going 1, 2,
1
3,
to
4, 5.
1, yeah,
1, 2.
1 to 10.
10.
Yes.
Okay, wait. Yeah, all right. I'm making a spreadsheet live here.
Yeah.
That's what ChatGPT.
What?
That again.
Oh wait, have I got to go?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, hold on.
Yeah.
B, 2, C, 3, D, 4, E, 5, F, 6. That's like a command machine. 6, F, G, 7, H, 8, I, 9, J. So 10. Okay.
Did that feel natural? Did that feel easy?
It's like got into a rhythm after a bit.
All right.
This is like a test.
No.
I thought we were going to do a table. Okay.
Now I want you to do the same thing, but I just want you to go A to J, then 1 to 10.
Oh, like I was originally.
Like you were originally doing.
Yeah.
Should have timed it. Which was easier?
That.
Okay. which was
Immediately tried to streamline it first, yeah?
yeah, which was quicker? That one.
Yeah.
So that's a really good example of when you're multitasking. It's harder for you to think, it's harder for you to focus.
You can actually only switch tasks, right?
Yeah.
That's why I can't write both of them at once.
Yeah.
Big day of writing both of them.
And the stats actually show that you lose about 23 minutes per task when you're task switching because you get out of the zone. And while it's really hard because we've grown up with multitasking, especially as women, we do that a lot. But when you actually take the time to time block, you'll find that it's a lot easier. And here's a structural fix. Here's a really good, thank you so much, way to do it. I know Jamie actually does a bit of this as well, but has anyone heard of the Pomodoro method? Yeah, it's where you actually focus, and I actually think it's gamifying it, but you choose, even if it's like you just need 5 minutes for something, or 10 minutes, you choose how long you think a task will take, you put your timer on, and you just do that task for the time. And it doesn't mean you have to do 4 hours of something. And what I've actually found for myself is when I use my phone, I get distracted by all the things. So I actually have a little special timer, and I just go, okay, I'm doing my emails for 10 minutes, or I need 5 minutes to do that, and it starts. I put my phone away, and then I don't switch. And it's a good discipline to get into, because the more you switch, the more time you lose, and it takes you longer to get in the flow. You also have a higher mistake rate when you're constantly switching. And this is like my favorite friend. Jamie, you use the kitchen timer. Yeah, but I use this little one because it's got the numbers here and I can go 50 minutes. Done. I actually have one to give away today. Actually, I have 2 in my bag, yeah. This is the top secret productivity hat. And again, what HR can help you with, your leaders with, when they're saying, Sally, my mind's just going too crazy, I can say, here's some things. So that's my time, is it? Okay. So where HR can help, if you guys can listen for things like, everything's in my head, we're growing but it's messy, I'm the bottleneck, managers are struggling, or we've never really had HR, or my favorite, I've never really heard of HR. That's where we can come in and be a little bit more proactive with your processes, your policies, but also upskilling your leaders by teaching them things like that in process. Structure, systems, and leadership is really the base of stopping all of those reactive things. We're never going to stop issues arising, like a staff issue blowing up, but we significantly reduce them if we have these in place before we get there.